Hi, this is B from Sorcery Soap, and today we're going to make this little scorpion. And he is in the Soap Craft Inspiration book, and actually a picture of this very scorpion's in there. So like I've suggested in other videos, I think it's a good idea to always save one of your creations so you can sort of back engineer it if you forget. Anyway, he's made out of black, so the only color we're going to need is black and white. And I loaded an extruder full of black because not only it saves me from having to wrap and unwrap soap dough, keeps it all good and a good consistency, but it kind of gives me my shape right away. So then I can gauge how big he's going to be. So we're going to, so this is a quick way, just pulling that off, that's a quick way you can see how that looks like that. And we just want to make it a little bendy. And I used to make them jointed. In this capacity though, I think it's better just to leave it all one piece and then mark the lines of it. Okay. So there's that. Let's make his other claw. You see that fuzz? Blessed fuzz. Okay. And then we'll mark him. So I was watching a nature show the other day. There's just so much, well, I won't say that. Anyway, I have a hard time finding things to watch. So I was watching a nature show, which I enjoy, and playing solitaire, of course. And so there, okay. And I realized how much inspiration can come from nature shows, and how many creatures there are on the planet of different kinds. Like there's this bird called a bee eater. See, I think his head needs to be a little bit bigger. I'll do that a little bit. I'll use that one for the center. Use that one since I don't want to re-roll it. Anyway, there's this bird called a bee eater, and he's expert at killing bees, eating and killing bees. And he's really pretty. He's like iridescent green. He has a long, sharp beak. And he takes, once he kills the bee, he takes it and beats it on a stick. Like he beats the whole thing, like you've seen birds break things, I'm sure. Anyway, that's what he does, which I find really fascinating. And then there's these other monkeys. Can't think of the name, I didn't write it down. Yeah, I do take notes when I watch those things. So then there's this monkey that I think he's in the Philippines, and the whole troop, they've learned they don't like sand on their food, and so they take their food, like they have these tubers that they like to eat, and so they take these tubers, they look like yams or sweet potatoes, and they take the tubers and they wash the sand off of them, And according to the scientists, which now I'm totally skeptical of scientists, I start doing research. I'm like, that's phlogiston. You didn't prove it. So in my mind, every time I watch stuff, I'm like, prove it, prove it. Because they just want me to believe, or whoever the audience, just to believe it because they said it. But they're not really proving anything. But anyway, so this is according to the scientists that are there, who actually, believe it or not, they even admitted that they feed these monkeys, which that's not really observation if you ask me. But anyway, they feed the monkeys, and the monkeys, some of them decide that they like salt water on their food. And so they take a bite and dip it in salt water and take a bite. And so what the scientists said is that the monkeys like salt water on their food. Now, I think anybody could understand that and say, maybe they just don't really like this and they just keep dipping it. And monkeys are habitual creatures. They have some frontal lobe activity, but they're mostly habit and instinct. And one of the things they found interesting is that they learned all this from their predecessors. So there's a theory called the 100 monkey theory or syndrome or something, where they hang a banana in the middle. I don't know, as an experiment. I'm not even going to quote it because I didn't really look into it. I just read it, a little bit of it online. So, but anyway, so what I think is just like the elephants, they learn this from someone and then they keep passing it on because it works. Because I don't care if you're an animal or you're human or whatever, that if you learn something and it works, you're just going to keep passing it along. Makes sense, right? So they learned that, how to wash their food, and passed it along. Whether they actually think, oh, the salt water tastes better or not, I don't know about that. You got to ask somebody for that. What do you think it tastes like? Anyway, I might not always be accurate about my interpretation, but here's what I really hope you have a takeaway with, is that I think about stuff, and that's what I'm inviting most anybody that watches like me make these silly little soap dough things is to think. That's it, just to think. Think for yourself. I admire people who think for themselves and have like come up with a new idea and go, oh yeah, I never thought about it to look at it like that. I used to date this guy, and every morning when he was getting ready for work, he would boil some eggs, which I thought was a good thing, right? And then he'd let them cool, and he had this whole ritual. And then he would take the egg and he would hold the warm egg in his one hand, and he'd take a spoon and he'd crack it with the other hand. And I said, why do you bother with the spoon part? I said, why don't you just crack it on the counter? It seemed to me to save a step, because he was all about being efficient, right? That was his MO. And he's like, because my mom did it. And I was like, okay, so you're doing the same thing your mom did without any conscious thought. You're just repeating a pattern for no real reason. But you're claiming to me that you want to be super efficient. I don't buy it. Yeah, we didn't last any much longer than that, just so you know. Okay, so these guys need to dry a bit. So I'm going to leave these here to dry a bit. And I'm going to use the magic of video to make time collapse. Ready? Go. Okay, so now I let my little scorpion parts set for a minute. We are ready to assemble them. So this guy, where's my little guy here? I'll make a hole in here and put a little water in there and stick his tail in. And so the soap goes here, so I want to kind of curve his tail in so that it all fits on the top of a soap bar. There, and his tail's shorter there, but that's all right. And then put his, yeah, they're a little fiddly. Let's see which way. Let's do this. Nope. It's okay. It has to dry completely. A little fiddly. There. My tools are never here when I need them. Those silly little fuzzes. Okay, so now we're going to set him like this. Make sure that he's dry completely before we start working on him too much. There. There. So this guy has bronze. He's dusted with bronze, and I actually like that, but I also like the black ones. I couldn't decide which ones I liked better. So this to here, this could be a problem. Oops. Right here, put a little water on that so that doesn't crack. Okay, let's put him back. There's a little fiddly. There. Okay. Now, once I leave him to dry, he'll be good and hard. But I want to put his eyes on before I go further, otherwise his face will crack, and it still might since I let him set. I probably should have put his eyes on a little bit longer, a little later. So these are from my soap cutter. Wait a minute, let me get that. This soap cutter here that I offer on the website. And I guess I failed to mention that when I cut the eyes out, roll the soap dough out, you always go between that and plastic, because if you just do this directly, you can't get it out of these little eyelets here. So now you know. So we're going to put the eyes on. I was struggling with the scorpion because I always thought scorpions weren't particularly, couldn't be made cute, but then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna conquer this thing. There. And the other day I met a bunch of really cool people, for one, and I'm gonna put his little bitty eye on there, and one of the people there was a triple scorpion. And I thought, oh, how interesting. You know, I've met somebody very similar to that in the past, and I could see sort of similarities in their personality. But this other person must have had something else in her chart. Obviously, she's a different human. And so fascinating. And I think that Scorpion people have gotten sort of a bad rap, actually, because I think they're really cool people. I've always thought they're really cool people and never took their sort of, they could be kind of pokey, you know. I never took their pokiness personally, and that helped me to get along with those kind of people that are, you know, have strong Scorpio in their chart, in their astrology chart, and, or, you know, and then of course their temperament. So these are tiny, oops, I can see that he's not quite stuck yet. Okay, so we want to make sure he's stuck. Just in case. Oh, see, I should let him dry a bit. So I'll just grab on enough because he's pretty wet right here, and then let him dry. There, okay. So let's stick his eyes on so he has a little personality. There. 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 So a little bit of there, and try to wipe off the black because the black gets on the white easily. And then I'll try not to fiddle with him and just leave him be to dry, and then he'll be all right. And so there you go. There's how to make a scorpion. I hope that helped, and leave a comment below and tell me what your thoughts, and I'd be curious to hear what your response is if you know anybody that's a Scorpio in your life, and what your how they are in your life. Because the one woman that I know, that this new person I met the other day, she's not quite a friend yet, hopefully she will be one, But the one woman that I know, she is kind of a friend, I suppose. I mean, I knew her through business, and we did a lot of personal things. We interacted with horses quite a bit, and quite mysterious, that woman, still to this day, very mysterious. Anyway, so just something to think about. Hope you're having a great day, and thanks for watching.